recently has gone back to the right. But it's good to have fighters like Paola Gallo Peláez. She's here and she is going to fight this trend and she's going to keep fighting for peace, justice and freedom. Paola, she is a leader of the movement for peace, serenity and solidarity of the people in Mopassol, in Argentina. So we are very interested in hearing what she has to say to us.
Queridos
Dear brothers and sisters, fighters for the peace in the world, thank you for inviting Mopassol to be here to present the southern cone of South America in this first conference against UNAIDS and NATO military bases. To start with, we would like to thank the Irish people for their solidarity towards our peoples that are striving to have freedom, sovereignty, decolonization and peace. I want to remind you all today, especially, I want to remember those Irish people, men and women from Ireland that took part in the independence process in our America, together with Bolivar and San Martin. I would like to remember today Tom O'Ryan, who was the Dean of San Martin, and he helping liberate Chile and Peru. Francis Burton O'Connor, he was High Officer in the Bolivar campaigns in Peru and Bolivia. And I would like to remember them, the well-known and thousands of invisible but essential Irish men and women, as the Cuban poet says, Silvio Rodriguez, that embraced our cause, our revolutionary cause. Thank you. Our eternal thanks to all of them. These histories of solidarity are witnesses of the deep ties between our peoples. In order to achieve a better world without colonialism, that we still are trying to achieve in the conference. Thank you, and count with us. We are living interesting times and difficult times as well. There's a new world order now in motion. The world is under transformation, very rapid transformation, and is becoming a place that we do not know. It's a world in which the water is going to be depleted and the non-renewable natural resources, a world which is in conflict for its hegemony, as we see the trade war that the United States is waging with China. These are the two main actors of this kind of trade war. And facing this conflict, the United States is openly reivindicating towards Latin America, the Monroe Doctrine. And we have seen that in official declarations of the last two Secretaries of State, Rex Tillerson and Mike Pompeo. The first one, he is a member of the Epson Petro Company from 2006 to 2016, and the second is ex-CIA director. The 21st century saw Latin America in 2002 as a result of neoliberalism from the 90s, with 220 million poor people. That's what we saw in the 21st century. But in the first decade of the 21st century, according to data from the World Bank, in 2013, Latin America, with the governments, which were supposed to be populist and growth, they made it possible to have 100 million people moving out of poverty. But these popular governments tried to do more. They built spaces for Latin American unity in which sovereignty and peace would be the leitmotif of the unity. After the heroic scream of no to the free trade agreement, the Alliance for the Free Trade in the Americas, in the fourth summit in Mar del Plata in Argentina in 2005, the empire deployed all the counter-offensive, intensifying the psychological warfare, mediatic warfare, judicial warfare, trying to delegitimize the men and women that were leaders in Latin America. The coup d'etat, new type, they are called soft coup d'etat, trying to put an end to the experiences of these popular governments for good. Coup d'etat in Honduras, in Paraguay, in Brazil. At the same time, there has been a deployment of military bases from the United States in the whole of the continent, using humanitarian, scientific research, cooperation and support against drug trafficking as an excuse for the setting up of the bases. The occupation force of NATO, with the United States leading them, have deployed a terror force never seen before in the history of humankind in order to guarantee their supremacy over all these things that are necessary or required for the security of the United States and their allies. Their influence is not only military. They control and they try to achieve a dominion of a global spectrum, trying to sow not only in our territory but also in our minds, in our hearts, in our bodies. They are trying to infiltrate the most lethal weapon known to mankind. Is the atomic bomb in human minds, the cultural neo-colonialism. And this is making our peoples voting against their interests with a collective suicide when they're electing right-wing fascist governments and giving legitimacy to the NATO military occupation and the occupation of the United States in our territories. There's a war that is being fought in our minds under the control of American military people. So we hear their voices. The Admiral Curti, he is the current commander of the South Command. In February this year, he said in front of the Congress of the United States the scenarios planned for the continent, the goals and the strategies, and he said, unquote, in terms of geographic promiscuity, trade, migration and culture, there's no other part in the world that has a higher impact on the life of the United States than Central America, South America and the Caribbean. This is a war declaration, a declaration of war. Stefan Banesh, army officer and analyst from the United States, said recently when he was explaining the strategy of the moral coup that the empire wants to give to the popular processes in Latin America, and I quote, in order to achieve a mobilization from the population in trying to achieve the goals that we want, we have to be able to communicate successfully what is right and what is wrong. What is right and what is wrong. We have to be able to generate imbalance, individual imbalance and social imbalance. We need to try to bias the minds of the adversary through the spreading ambiguity to attack and to mislead people, which will create a massive distraction. And this distraction will be physical and non-physical. the goal of virtual war is not nothing else but the social control. We have to conquer the enemy without having to wage a war. Charles Dunlop, North American General, Pentagon advisor. The concept of lawfare, originated by Charles Dunlop, which is a tactic to use the law as a means to achieve a military goal. It means transforming legal codes, turning them into bullets. The lawfare is less lethal, it's more economical, but very often, in many instances, it's more efficient than just planned military actions. The principles come from trying to give legality to what is exceptional, to what is harassment and persecution. Is alien to democratic system because it's used as a substitute of the democratic system. This system chooses who is going to take part in the system and who is not, who is going to be excluded and who's going to be inside. It's promoting media character assassination through legal means. A legal sentence is not important. What does matter is the path that has been taken. It may seem innocent. Maybe that person is going to be innocent. But the investigation, the pressing charges have to be on the media. Has to be the highlight of all the mass media in order to delegitimize someone. And the link of the leader with the more disadvantaged social movements. This is where we have to invest the most. This is where we have to invest the most. We have to communicate more, and we have to invest in communications and in social media. I would like to highlight something concerning what I have just said, because what we want to promote and propose to you all, the Mopassol, is trying to work in this field, in the field of communications and social media. Argentina has subscribed military agreements signed since Mauricio Macri and the alliance government reached power. And these agreements have been signed with the United States, Israel, and the United Kingdom. These three agreements are very serious. But no doubt, the one that we are more ashamed of is the agreement signed with the United Kingdom. It cannot be even acknowledged, because it's an agreement which coordinates military alliances with the occupying force, because Argentina has a territory in the Malvin Islands and the South Sandwich and Georgia Islands, which have been occupied since the Falkland Islands. You want to know the agreements, the terms of the agreements with the United States, with Israel, and the detailed agreement of the United Kingdom, I can leave them here. We wrote a report in my movement, so I can move on to other subjects. I won't be taking more time, so you can have a read at the agreements. In Argentina, since Mauricio Macri arrived in government, we had only the NATO military base in the Falkland Islands in the South Atlantic. But now we have 2 more bases, which has been acknowledged by the government itself. So we are talking about 76 military bases, and our colleague, our comrade Tema Lusani from Mopassol has mentioned in a book called Territories Under Surveillance, and you can find it in ebook. So there are these two more bases can be added to that long list that was already published. The first base is in the province of Misiones. Misiones has the Guarani water supply. Is the water reservoir is one of the most important water reservoirs of the world. Third place thanks to its ability to recharge. There's a task force there to tackle drug trafficking. But we know very well, we in America, that when someone says fight against drug trafficking in the United States, what it brings is violence, killings, and massive violations of human rights. And now, at the gates of the United States, it has brought thousands and thousands of immigrants that are desperate, and they're trying to find a better place that they can call home. The other base is in the province of Neuquén. Neuquén, only recently, in that provincia was found gas and oil resources in a place called Vaca Muerta. So now Argentina has become very important in terms of a geopolitical interest because of this gas and oil found there. And it's not by chance that at the same time as the base was established, and in the social media, the province government in Neuquén was showing pictures of the officers of the South Commander talking about the great investment. This base is very close by Vaca Muerta, and as well is very close to the airport in Neuquén. It has no land in a strip. They don't need a land in a strip anymore because they have governments that are supporting them. Yeah, not finished now. So we have bases on the sea, world reserve, and on the water. So we have bases when we have water supply, which are world supplies, and oil and gas, world supplies as well. And then we have another base on the south, which is very important. In South Atlantic is the ocean where there's more food and energy, because the other oceans have already been depleted, which means that it's highly important for humankind. It's essential. The occupiers of our islands are selling licenses to have pirate ships that will be robbing our resources. We have to protect humankind. This sea is a reservoir of food and energy, and it has to be maintained properly. We have to consume the resources in a proper way, because the future of the food supply worldwide is in the South Atlantic. And that's why it's important, the future of the Antarctica. We could be spending days and days talking about it, because it's very important. It's the Pandora's box of the future of humankind. I would like to finish, and I'm not going to read my presentation because you can read it yourselves. It's going to be at your disposal. I would like to finish with a thought, and it's our big concern as activists trying to achieve peace. what we are trying to do here now is defending the world that we are going to leave to our children. And most of the time, our children are spending they're spending all their time in the internet. Internet is changing our mind, and we don't know to what extent the debates trying to achieve a better world should be in the internet. We need to be there. We need to be in the social media, and we need to debate there. We need to fight our cultural battle in the internet, in the web. We, I mean, world's population that are still dreaming and wakes up every day trying to fight for a better world, to make it possible, we have not entered in the web spaces. We should be there, and it's urgent to be in the web world. So we want to propose to help us. We want to ask you to help us with two initiatives. First one, to create a school for peace. We need to train the trainers that are going to be train the minds of people, the teachers. The teachers want to talk about peace, but they don't know how. They need to have tools. This is a very important concept, but it's not very clear. Our civilization has never spoken about peace. We need to teach our teachers. We need to teach them how to talk about peace. Secondly, we need to set up a communications commando. That's urgent. That's a very pressing need. And we are the ones that are dreaming with the peace for the world. And we are the ones that have to get working with our hands, our minds, and our hands. Thank you very much.
Una cosa más antes de...
Something else before leaving. In our movement for peace, sovereignty, and solidarity among peoples in Argentina, we are carrying out a campaign to make the 9th of August the International Day of the Crimes committed by United States against humankind. We have chosen that date, 9th of August, to remember this horrible day in which, in Japan, the atomic bomb was dropped. We want you to take part in the campaign. The t-shirt has the color of the t-shirts that inmates in Guantanamo, people in jail there. So please join us in our campaign. Help us set up this day as the day for the fighters for peace. Thank you very much.
Antes de empezar las preguntas,